think it was this time in 2009, or maybe a few weeks earlier, maybe mid-July to late July 2009. It was the first ever season of the UEFA Europa League. That's what I remember. It was, I mean, the UEFA Cup before that. Before that was the Fairs Cup, the same competition. I was at the first night of the Champions League, proper, the first match day, the group stages of the Champions League in 92, 93, Rangers against Marseille, that famous 2-each game. And I always thought that was quite cool. So here we were, 2009, 2010, although I mean, the UEFA Cup from 1971, and before that it was the Fairs Cup. Was it June 1955, the first ever Fairs Cup match was played? I think that was in Switzerland. It was the London 11. Eddie Firmani scored for the London 11, a select side. The first ever goal in club competition, European club competition as we currently know it. That kicked off, it was September before the European Cup kicked off in 1955. That was Partizan Belgrade played in that game. We could have been playing them the night. But the whole point, Eddie Firmani, he was born in South Africa and he played for Italy at international level, but he made his name in England. And here he was scoring for a select side, a London select, the Charlton legend. And he was playing for a London select side, and he would then go on to basically found the NASL in North America. He's still on the go. Still on the go. He scored the first goal in European club competition, June 1955, and he's still on the go. He's some character, Eddie Firmani, but how exotic, how cosmopolitan, how polyglot can you possibly get? A super appropriate guy to score that first goal in European club competition. That's why I love it. It's exotic. I love it. And that was the Fairs Cup, was the UEFA Cup, was the Europa League. The Europa League was just the latest branding, latest iteration, but really just a branding exercise. But nevertheless, I thought it was going to be significant to go and see Motherwell against Llanelli. Motherwell were playing Llanelli, and it was going to be not the first Europa League match played in the British Isles as much as it was the first Europa League match played in the island of Great Britain. I think Distillery, maybe they'd played in the first qualifying round. That's too early for Northern Irish clubs. But anyway, there was a game going on in Northern Ireland, which I think rivaled it as being the first Europa League match played in Britain, but or in the United Kingdom. But I wanted to go along to this one. It was definitely going to be the first Europa League match played in Scotland. So I'd been to the first Champions League match played in Scotland, and here I had a chance to go and see the first Europa League match played in Scotland because Motherwell wanted us to go. They were advertising the fact that there were still tickets available, and we should go along, get a ticket on the night if you wanted to go. And so I wasn't be taking a ticket off a Motherwell fan, and that was a consideration in the days. I wouldn't want to offend fans of other Scottish clubs like that level by taking a ticket off them for a game that they should have had priority to. And it was also on the other side of it, I would consider going to see other Scottish clubs. I did it maybe half a dozen times or so in my life. It was all Hearts. I think I saw Atletico Madrid, Ferencváros, Schalke 04 and Dynamo Zagreb. I saw them, all those great European finalist clubs, those really famous clubs. I saw them all for the first time in Edinburgh, beat Murrayfield, beat Tynecastle. Hearts would be playing them, hosting them on a night that Rangers weren't playing. And in those days, I would go to like 2 European games in the 1 week kind of thing. I loved it. Let's see the books behind me. See all the books behind me. I've read maybe 2 or 3 of them. Most of them it's just looking at the pictures and colouring in. But I have actually read a few of them. And I read them when I was like 11, 12, 13 years old. That kind of age, you're starting to find things a bit exotic. Didn't I'd all been Dukes of Hazzard and the Second World War. Up until that point, you're playing your Airfix soldiers. You're still playing your wee soldiers, but you're getting another. It's Daisy Duke. You're starting to look, but it's that time of life where you're starting to form your proclivities for your adult life. And my proclivity was seeing European club finalists. I was reading about this Real Madrid playing Benfica in the 1962 European Cup final. Puskas scores a hat trick before half time. This is an old Olympic Stadium, Amsterdam, a stadium I've been in since. It's still on the go as well, and. Benfica come out with Eusebio in the second half and they go and they win the game 5-3. This is at a time when I was growing up, all the European Cup finals finished 1-0. 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. Every year the European Cup final finished 1-0. It was a massive letdown in terms of entertainment. It was just the moment, the glamour of it. And I'm like, seeing all these old black and white photographs in these books of Real Madrid earlier that season playing Juventus. It was a quarter final and it went to a playoff. Didn't have the away goals rule. We don't have it anymore now. But it went to a playoff in Paris at the old Parc des Princes. The guys with their Macintoshes on the big massive bulbs on the cameras to take the photographs at night. Just so glamorous. And I vowed there and then I'm going to see every single club that's played in a European club final. And that's I'm going to get them off. It's a list I'm still trying to complete. I think there's about 104, 105 teams on it now. and I've seen 74 or 75 of them. I'm going to be lucky to live long enough to see them all. And I like to see them. I like mostly. I don't like to do that kind of German thing. I was like, German groundhoppers are the worst. They just go everywhere. They would have done it in like a year. Just have, spent a year working in IT and then taking a year off and just travelled Europe, ticking them up. But I like to see it organically. I like them coming to Ibrox, or wherever Rangers happen to be playing them, and I'll tick them off then. But sometimes I take a wee shortcut because I know I'm not going to live that long. So I went to see Atletico, a lot of these clubs. I saw them at Tynecastle. I saw a different kind of list. I went to see Intertoto Cup football because Rangers were never playing Intertoto Cup. So I saw a couple of Intertoto games. One at Firhill was NK Zagreb, the other team in Zagreb. And I saw FC Sarted of Serbia. They've got a different name now. When they were playing Dundee at Dens Park in the Intertoto. There's always various wee lists in the go. They're all kind of related to European football that I'm always trying to tick off. But this is, I wouldn't have gone to see Celtic, for example. I wouldn't have gone to see a Celtic game in which Rangers weren't playing. I wouldn't see Celtic playing MD other than Rangers. And that time I went to see them playing Hamilton Accies, but that was because the ICF dragged me along and I was really young and stupid and awful lucky. Very, very lucky on the day. But Celtic, when they were playing at Hampden, Celtic were using Hampden as their home stadium for an entire season in the mid-90s. And during that season, they played Flamenco. They hosted Flamenco, of Brazil. And a friendly, and if I was ever going to go and see Celtic playing anybody other than Rangers, it would have been that game, and I wasn't in any way interested. No, through the kind of bitterness that you're thinking, but more just through that kind of, at that point I still believed in, we're all football fans. I believed in that thing that we're all, when you got down to it, we're all just fans of Scottish football, albeit maybe through different teams. There's a general love of the game in Scotland. So I wouldn't, the worst insult I could give anybody is taking a ticket off them that they've got priority to. I would never do that. So that was a thing I didn't think about it. I didn't think about it at all. I did, what I thought about was when Torino played Aberdeen at Pittodrie. Remember Torino drew Aberdeen in Europe. Was it the season Torino got to their European final? Because they'd reached it was in the 90s of the Cup Winners' Cup or the UEFA Cup, but Torino definitely got to, big Casagrande, Walter Casagrande was definitely playing for Torino. I think he scored at Pittodrie. I remember watching the highlights, and he was playing when they got to the final of the UEFA Cup in 1992. They lost in away goals to Ajax, but even before that, Torino were a club you want to see, and I still haven't seen them. Superga, Il Grande Torino, Valentino Mazzola, all these guys. I still need to see Torino. I wasn't old enough to see them when they played Rangers in the Cup Winners' Cup quarter-final in 71-72, but I did think for a second, because this was a time in the early 90s, early mid-90s, you still could remember, I could remember clearly as a schoolboy watching Aberdeen. Everybody cheering on Aberdeen, no matter what club they supported, in the Cup Winners' Cup final against Real Madrid in Gothenburg, live on STV. But I'd also been to the game subsequently where Ian Gerrard got his leg broken up at Pittodrie, so that was the end of it. Really, there was no way. I did consider going up there, but then I quickly, as quickly as I considered it, I dismissed the notion. Couldn't do, but I did do. I tried it again after 2012. I remember going to see Motherwell Colts at Fir Park against Sligo Rovers in the Challenge Cup, because just like when Rangers went out the top flight, suddenly Scottish football brought in that pyramid system that everybody's been asking for decades. Well, when we had Ruby Sojourn for 4 years in the Challenge Cup, when that ended, we was going back to the top flight. They suddenly decided they had to do something to make up for the lack of the Rangers. So they invited teams from Northern Ireland, Southern Ireland, Wales, and England into the competition. I think that's still the case, isn't it? And it was Sligo Rovers' first team that were playing Motherwell Colts at Fir Park. There was only one stand open, plenty of tickets available, so I went along to that, and it just wasn't the same. I mean, Sligo Rovers were great, and their fans were great and all that. I think Motherwell beat them quite handily on the day. Scotland, I went to Scotland, Portugal friendly the next day with my nephew, so it wasn't a Rangers weekend, it was an international weekend. But I just felt, I'd betrayed something that I didn't know was there to betray. Because we felt betrayed. There was bridges had been burnt in 2012. I always try to be above that kind of pettiness, but I definitely felt, no, something's just broken with everything that happened. With certain clubs, certain kind of top tier regulars in Scottish football, the relationship was broken. Hopefully not irreparable. Maybe we'll get back to those days, but I couldn't do it now. But back in 2009, this time, late July 2009, I thought I'll go along and watch Motherwell against Llanelli. And I went along, and the queue was at the door to the point where I missed kick-off. But the game was at the Shibury Excelsior. It was at Airdrie. I don't know, this is maybe a couple of seasons. This would be 2 seasons after Motherwell had ground shared Fir Park with Gretna. I was, you know, the game at Fir Park when we played Gretna in the top flight at their place. And that really caused problems with the Fir Park pitch. And I know there have been existing problems with drainage, and there's a heavy duty camber, like a hill basically with Fir Park. They got that sorted out with their pitch. So maybe it was at that time they were doing the repairs. But UEFA said it wasn't fit to host European football anyway. So it was a Shibury Excelsior. And I went along on the night, really looking forward to it. I'd been at the Champions League, the first night of the Champions League against Marseille, and I wanted to go to the first night of the Europa League. And I realised it was going to be half an hour into the game before I get anywhere near the front of this queue. So because I am anal retentive to a certain extent with the football, I was like, no, I'm not doing that. You know, I need to see at least 80 minutes to 85 minutes of the game for it to really count. This isn't worth it. It's all or nothing. I'm away. But I wish I had stayed, because it's quite a significant moment, because Llanelli won. Llanelli won 1-0 on the night at Airdrie against Motherwell. In the second leg, Motherwell won 3-0 down at Llanelli, down in Wales against Llanelli. And that was, I think it only happened once before. I'm pretty sure when Celtic played our old pals at Dynamo Moscow, the old KGB team. KGB were a certain Putin, Vladimir Putin, learnt his gig, and Putin, who's responsible for the fact that, you know, Dynamo Kiev are playing away from home, and responsible for the fact that all these riots that are going on in Britain just now, and Brexit and that. And I think Putin, so it's all kind of ties in. And I remember Celtic had lost maybe 1-0 at Parkhead in the first leg of this. I don't know if it was a Champions League qualifier, Europa League, whatever. And then they went over to the Russian capital and they beat them 2-0. They beat them by more goals anyway. I think it was the first time that a British team had lost the first leg at home of a European tie, but still progressed. And here was Motherwell. I think John Sutton, brother of Chris Sutton, scored a couple of goals down in Wales, doing the same thing. So that was significant. But the other thing was Llanelli, their ground, they were going through financial trouble at the time as well, and their ground wasn't up to scratch as far as UEFA were concerned, because you know how the morals that the European governing body have got. And so they played at Llanelli, moved it to the Parky Scarlets. It was a local park. That's my Welsh attempt, sorry. The local rugby stadium, as is the case now. A few places in Wales, the rugby union has got all the big money and it's a much better stadium, so they moved it to that. So you're a situation where Motherwell and Llanelli had hosted the home leg of a European tie at a stadium that wasn't theirs. And I remember thinking, Rangers would never be in a situation. Imagine being in a situation like that. That'd actually be quite interesting. I'd be quite looking forward to seeing Rangers doing that, but it'll never happen. And I bet Dynamo Kyiv were thinking at the time, we'd never be involved in a situation like that. And here we find ourselves. This is your FATEC. Rangers away to Dynamo Kyiv in Poland in the third round of the Champions League qualifiers preview pod, coming to you in association with the Gersnet microphone, and also coming to you in association with Godfather. The Godfather, if it was a film, Francis Ford Coppola. What I'm trying to tell you is, don't be FREDO. Don't be FREDO. Okay, my name's Alec Anderson. The chef will cook for you special. The dancers will kick your tongue out, and your credit is good. Just draw chips for everybody in the room so they can play in the house. But you don't want to be FREDO in that scene. You want to, maybe we're all feeling a bit like Al Martino, but we're feeling a bit like Johnny Fontaine. Be Johnny Fontaine, be Tom Hagen, be thinking, why am I no Consigliere anymore? Why am I not a wartime Consigliere? No, it's because Santino was a bad Don. But you've been kind of pushed to the side. I want you to come, Johnny, I want you to come and agree to, perform 5 times a year in Las Vegas. And you can see Johnny thinking, his heart sinking, and you can see his eyes going, oh, what? But he agrees. Loyalty. He knows, first gratitude for what's got him to the position he's enjoying, and also he's just loyalty. Okay, sure, no problem. You can see he's doing it through gritted teeth. I'll always help my Godfather, Michael, no problem at all. And he signs that contract. But Fredo's like, you can't come to Las Vegas and talk to a man like Mo Green like that. And Michael says to him, don't ever take sides against the family, ever. Don't ever do that. Always stick to the family. And maybe you're saying to yourself, why was Alex so kind of upbeat? Because I know this is something that keeps you awake. Why Alex? Talking to myself in the third person is, what a wanker. But you're thinking to yourself, why is Alec, Noah's downbeat about the performance on Saturday and the state of the club right now? Well, I hope I explained that in the previous pod, but I don't want you to think for a second that I don't realise how badly Rangers have been playing and the kind of situation we're in. And this is a night that might expose that. But I think my thing is always, I would hate to be on the wrong side of Rangers' victory. I would hate to have been somebody who was giving it, it's not going to happen, we're garbage, this person's got to go, that person's got to go. If people need to get sacked, people need to go, that you know, I will maybe point that out, you know, as much as anybody else. And I'm certainly as pissed off with a bad Rangers result, probably more so than anybody else. But I would like to be in this, I would like to be sticking by the Rangers. That's my team. I mean, the family isn't really a family in the Godfather. You know, they're a team, they're a club. You know what I mean? They're an organisation, and my team, club, organisation, family is Rangers, and I want to always show first loyalty to them, even when it looks like we're getting chased out. You know, when it looks like things are bad, it's just a matter of time till we take out the heads of the five families, and well, you know what FREDO has to do to try and get his self-respect back, and it just ends really bad. But that's Godfather 2, and they don't sponsor this podcast. Yeah, I know things are bad. I know it looks bad, but I spent the summer, for example, I think, especially when it's European football, it brings it home why I kind of love it. It's a drug. It's like having a biscuit with a cup of tea. You just need to have that biscuit, else a cup of tea is just not the same. And when it comes to the Fitbit, when it comes to Rangers starting again, I know I'm going to be all in, and it sets off little things in me that make me kind of happy on a deeper level. Even if I might not be happy with how Rangers are playing. But through the summer, the best coincidence I could find during the summer was I was watching John McGeoch. I know I was watching the Euros and that kind of thing, but I just started transposing Rangers worries onto the Euros. Oh, Gary Southgate doesn't get appreciated. It was Gary Southgate was becoming James Tavernier. I was having the James Tavernier argument throughout the Euros just because of I was using the English media attitude towards Gary Southgate, the kind of ingrate attitude he was getting, even though he was getting them to games they could never dream of having got to. It was just Rangers. But I was watching YouTube. This is YouTube, the platform that I'm on, so I need to remain loyal to it. Constantly try and sell it to you. And I was watching The Light Pours Out of Me magazine, the old magazine, the video, the kind of official music video of the magazine, doing it. The Light Pours Out of Me. There's John McGeoch, probably my personal favourite guitarist of all time, and he's in his wee kind of pink woolen V-neck thing, but because he's punk, it's talking late 70s here, it's no shirt underneath it. He's got no polo shirt, far less a tie underneath it. It's down almost to his chest. There's a little, rascally bit of ginger chest hair poking up there, and he's got a tight kind of collar. But the other thing is the drummer's got pink. Forgive me, I can't remember the magazine drummer's name. He's wearing pink as well, kind of violet-y, purpley pink. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. And I went and clicked on Israel, Susie and the Banshees Israel. And that's my favourite John McGeoch phase. It's everybody's favourite John McGeoch phase, of course it is. In Israel, Susie was a bitch. She's obviously a hard case, Susie, and that's why we love her. But she wasn't having him doing the kind of frontman stuff, the attention-seeking stuff that he's did for a magazine. He's just got to stick to it. His guitar was getting all the attention, and the way he plays the guitar. It's downbeat and all that, but what he does with that guitar at the beginning of Israel is just absolutely phenomenal, as good as any guitar work he's ever done. But I noticed he's got a leather jacket on, but underneath it he's got a pink shirt on. And again, it's done down to the chest hairs are showing, and it's a bigger thing this time, a kind of Native American thing, but it's another choker around the neck. And the drummer, and I know his dad, Budgie, no Budgie for Susie and the Banshees, no Budgie, Susie's partner, not for the Creatures as well. Budgie, he's wearing a pink top as well. Well, he's on the drums, and it's not even the rhythm section. It's not like, all right, the rhythm, because it's the lead guitarist and the drummer. I'm thinking, why are they wearing the pink? That's the kind of coincidence I was stuck with during the summer to keep me going. The second Rangers, even through the pre-season, Trevor Francis Memorial game down at St Andrews, and we've just drawn either Dynamo Kiev or Partizan Belgrade in the third qualifying round of the Champions League. We know who we're going to be playing. And there's Trevor Francis, the guy who scored the winner in the final of the first season of European competition that I remember Rangers in. I remember the 77 European Cup final. I remember watching that in telly, Liverpool, Borussia Mönchengladbach. But the first time I watched Rangers, and the first time remember watching Rangers in Europe, my dad getting me out of my bed to see the highlights on Sports Scene of us beating Juventus. When I was like 8-year-old. This is absolutely amazing. Beating Juventus at a half-built Ibrox, or a half-rebuilt Ibrox, because work had to be done. And we get put out in the quarterfinals by Cologne. Nottingham Forest put out Cologne in the semi-finals, and then Trevor Francis scores the winner. He scores the winner, his first goal in European football, his first game in European football. Scores the winner. Robert Pritz playing for Malmo in the Olympic Stadium in Munich. And then 9 years later, 8 years later, I see Trevor Francis make his debut for Rangers against Dunfermline. And the next game he's playing at the end, you watch the highlights of that, fantastic exhibition stuff, him and Souness at Sampdoria. Players just having a real Serie A. We've played Serie A, we're a different class. I was in the Copeland, my season ticket was in the Copeland, in the front of the Copeland, and it was absolutely fantastic. It was great stuff. It was what turned into a fairly mediocre season, but the next game, Trevor Francis, you see the STV highlights of that, which I looked up when Trevor Francis passed away. It's Jock Brown. It's Jock Brown who's talking to him, and they're talking about the Russians, playing the Russians. It's Dynamo Kiev. Because at that time, this horrible thing would go on. Arts McPherson, who I always thought was better, more educated, he does it during the commentary for the second leg where we beat Dynamo Kiev at Ibrox and put them out. But you're talking about the Russians, they're playing the Russians. This is, I think, used to go on then. It was the Soviet Union, of course, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, and it's fucking decimated the Ukraine. Starved millions to death and stuff like that. It's a horrible thing, the Soviet Union, just as Russia remains today. But Ukraine was part of it, Georgia was part of it, all these kind of states, but Ukraine, Dynamo Kiev were representing the Ukraine the whole time, representing their people, their country that was being suppressed by the old Soviets. So Trevor Francis puts the ball in for the goal that won the game. He floats the ball for the right wing over it, but like, this is great. We're at St Andrews for the he started his career at Birmingham, Trevor Francis, and we've just drawn Dynamo Kiev, where Francis put that ball at the back post for Mark Falco to knock across, and Ali heads in the winner. I've never known if he meant it. He looks like he's trying to nod the ball the other way, but then it comes off and it goes the other way. I mean, it's a really strange. I think he's bounced off his head the wrong way, and he's completely missed what he was trying to do, and it's going on the other side. But the harder I try, the luckier I get. It was a great night. I was in the West Enclosure that night, my pals. It was absolutely fantastic. Went up and got the programme off the programme seller. Remember the old guy at the Port Wine Stand on Mafeking Street, and he says it's Souness has moved the pitch. We'll be all right. Souness has moved it. I'm like, all right, mate. Boy's cuckoo. He doesn't know what he's talking about. We got inside the ground. Apologies. Souness had moved the pitch. He'd condensed it to try and nullify the year. This is the whole thing. I'm now able to talk about European football. It's good coincidences, even at St Andrews with the whole thing with Balogun after the game. This is the first night we knew that Connor Goldson wasn't going to be a Rangers player, was when he pulled out of the squad for that friendly against Birmingham City, which he's from Walsall, I think, isn't he? Is it Walsall? Oh, that's Kamar Roof. He's done that neck of the woods anyway, Big Leon, and that's where he's from. Connor Goldson, and he pulls out the squad. And we know that's him. He's definitely going to be going. He's going to go and get a medical at Aris Limassol. And then at the end of that game, which we lost badly, Leon Balogun talks to Rangers TV and does exactly the same speech, almost, that Connor Goldson did after that League Cup semi-final against Hibs. And I don't know if it's I think it might be the softness, that beautiful kind of downbeat Brummy accent that Connor Goldson's got. It sounds like a Brummy accent to us anyway. Probably if you're from Birmingham, it's clearly not from here. But it sounds like it was just. I think that's what made people misunderstand what Connor Goldson was saying after that League Cup semi-final defeat against Hibs. It was the game after Steven Gerrard had left, and I thought for Leon Balogun to come out and basically say the same thing. It's not good enough. Folk are going to have to step up. Blah blah blah. And everybody's on social media going, quite right, Big Leon gets it. He knows. Connor Goldson got it as well. He was trying to take the pressure off he was trying to offer no excuses. He did that whole kind of present past tense thing when he said at 3-1 it's no use. The game's done. What he was meaning was, I'm not offering that. I'm not offering the fact that we pulled a goal back and played much better in the second half of that semi-final. I'm not, in retrospect, offering that as an excuse. And that's it. This is why I'm upbeat. Because I've got so much there's so many wee things going on in my head. So this is maybe why I seem a bit more upbeat. It's no kind of crazy, let's just drive the bus off the edge of the cliff. I'm not being crazily optimistic. I think things are going to be. I think I've just been so expecting things to be tough at Rangers, as I say, for up until the 2030s, probably as a result of the infrastructural damage that was done with the holding company going down the tubes in 2012. That I'm kind of prepared for all these silly wee things that happen, but it doesn't mean to say I'm happy with it. And don't get me wrong, the football we played on Saturday was pallid. We all ended up, I think, pretty happy with a draw, or relieved to get a draw. We definitely saw the chances of us losing that game at Tynecastle, and that in and of itself, especially what we did to Hearts last season, is an admission that we think we're in a really bad place right now. And the football that we played, albeit we dominated possession, as the manager was referring to in his pre European match presser yesterday over in Poland. We dominated possession against about 60% possession against Hearts. Our attacks were terrible. They were insipid, they were pallid, they were pale, they were pasty. They were like the kind of subject of an early 19th century poet, like a romantic poet. Fanny Braun, John Keats, absolutely brilliant, absolutely fantastic poems, but he's writing about this woman, Fanny Braun, and she wasn't bra at all. You know what I mean? She wasn't. But it's just more like he was in love with being in love and being able to talk kind of flowery. And I feel as if maybe that's what I'm like when it comes. I'm certainly not going to be writing any sonnets that are going to be remembered in 200 years' time. But I like to wax lyrical because I like to wax lyrical about Rangers. I just love to be in love with Rangers. But it doesn't mean to say I was in love with the way we were playing, which was very much like, as I say, kind of that early nights. He'd been doing the mines all day, so pasty, so pat, and then he would do a 12-hour shift under a kind of knife making machine in a factory or somewhere, where having their lunch on the wooden wheels of the mill, the mill going through the water with infested with rats and stuff like that. Basically really unhealthy looking, but yeah, that was a subject of great praise from myself, a great excitement for myself at the weekend, because I was just happy that Rangers were back. And the reason I'm happy is because I hope I've made it clear so far that I'm really interested in football. It's a big part of my life. I'm really interested particularly in European football, and to see Rangers resuming tonight this beautiful relationship, this, bitter and sweet relationship we have with European football, a more intense relationship than any other Scottish club has enjoyed over the last 20 years. It's great for me, absolutely. It's the place we want to be. For me, this is where it all happens. Now, that we need to have a certain level of domestic dominance and success to be getting access to Europe, to have potential access to the Champions League, the Catalina wine mixer of European club competition. We're at this stage, third qualifying round, still a playoff to go. We're kind of, having to soak up the colleagues of our big brother's arse to even be allowed to go to the Catalina wine mixer. So this is the kind of stage we're at just now. But nevertheless, it's very exciting because I still feel as if it's the European Cup, and it being Dynamo Kiev, who we played in a tour of the Soviet Union in the 61-62 season. European club competition still in its infancy. It's still less than a decade old. So before that, you would make your name through tours, European tours. So this I didn't realise that this tour we did, which was called a tour of Russia, but it was a tour of the Soviet Union, and we beat, I think it was Spartak Moscow at their place, and we beat Dynamo Tbilisi at their place, and we drew with them. We come back unbeaten, but we drew at Dynamo Kyiv. We actually played in 3 different countries, Georgia, Russia and the Ukraine, but Dynamo Kyiv was the only team to not lose to us. But we come back for that tour to quite a bit of praise. There was a wee crowd waiting at Abbots Inch Airport for the Rangers of that one. That was seen as a kind of European victory back in the day. So there's that, and then there's that great game in the 87-88 season when we'd played. This is part of our strange relationship with Poland. We played Gornik Zabrze in the previous round. We drew away with them. We beat them 3-1 at Ibrox, and for some reason I wasn't there. And that was the 1970 European Cup runners-up. Gornik Zabrze lost to Man City in the final. I never went to that game. I can't think why. But I think I was kind of ruining about becoming a student in that. No, I didn't have money. I probably didn't have the money anyway. But I was at the Dynamo Kiev game, and I was at the Stoy Bucharest game. We played Stoy Bucharest in the quarter-final. So it was a very Eastern European, behind the Iron Curtain type of European Cup for us that season, having won the league in 86-87 under Sunis. And it was epic. The Dynamo Kiev team we were playing there, partly because of the Iron Curtain and the fact that you couldn't really get players from Eastern Europe. They were only allowed out of Eastern Europe, so you got these great Eastern European sides. Talking last week about playing Union Berlin in that friendly, and how it's perverse that the subjugation of millions of people, the deaths of millions of people, because of the war and because of the Soviet Union, the Warsaw Pact, these kind of things, created with a kind of romance, because it got these clubs that you'd never see the players outside a World Cup, a European Championship, or European club competition, different kits. And Dynamo Kiev, a bit like Dynamo Moscow kit, the white, blue, and white. That lovely D that so many Russian and Georgian and Ukrainian, so many Soviet sides would have this beautiful D for the Dynamo the kind of sports association, whatever, blah blah blah. It was just so glamorous, super glamorous. But not just that, That Dynamo Kiev team that we played in 87, 88, like 16 months earlier, they'd won the Cup Winners' Cup, the second Cup Winners' Cup, the only Eastern European team to win more than one European trophy. And they won it against Atletico Madrid, and I think it was Lyon, and they blew them away. And it was Valery Lobanovsky, the great Ukrainian guru manager, who'd been manager of the Soviet Union. But that was the second time he'd won the Cup Winners' Cup. He was a manager when they won it in 1975 as well, becoming the first team from the Soviet Union. This is the whole existence of the Soviet Union. They only won 3 European trophies. Dynamo Kiev of Ukraine won 2 of them, and Dynamo Tbilisi won the 1981 Cup Winners' Cup. So a Russian side didn't win a European trophy until after the breakup of the Soviet Union. CSKA Moscow winning that 2004 UEFA Cup. I'm going on too much about this right now, but the whole point is it's very exciting. It's very absolutely amazing team. That Valery Lobanovsky team that we played in 87, 88, the 2 European Footballers of the Year on the park, 2 Ballons d'Or, Oleg Blokin, who'd scored in the 75 and 86 Cup Winners' Cup finals. One of a couple of guys to score in Cup Winners' Cup finals, or 3 guys, I think, decades apart. But he was playing that night, and who's it? Igor Belanov, he was the other one. You know, it's absolutely an amazing team. And then Oleg Kuznetsov played, I think it's Alex Mikhailichenko, had scored the penalty against us in the first leg, and we lost 1-0 in front of about 100,000 in the Olympic Stadium, their actual home stadium, Kiev's home stadium. It's the war with Russia. It's the fact that Russia's invading them is why they're having to play in Poland just now. But that is their home stadium. It is the de facto national stadium. It's a beautiful thing that we're bringing Dynamo Kiev to Hampden. That's one thing. I hope we get a result tonight. As the manager's saying, we're here to get a result. I hope we get a draw minimum. I think even if we lose 1-0, we're in big trouble. But there's a good chance we could get pasted the way things are set up just now. But to get Dynamo Kiev at Hampden, maybe Dynamo Kiev have played at Hampden. Maybe we've played them in a friendly since 87 that I've forgotten all about or something like that. But the idea, I've seen the Ukraine playing at Hampden 4 times. Including seeing them winning their last 16 match in Euro 2020, which was played in 2021. That was played at Hampden. They won that with a last minute win on extra time. That was, and there's Andrei Shevchenko was out in the park as the manager, and I saw him scoring against Scotland. We beat them 3-1. It was at 2007, a qualifier for Euro 2008. It was big jig. He scored in that game. Lee McCulloch and Kenny Miller scored. I think Chris Boyd was playing for us as well that day. And Shevchenko, we beat them 3-1, but Shevchenko scores for this. And it's brilliant. You're getting the full works because Shevchenko's just the greatest. The only guy rivaling him was Oleg Blokin. And I'm going to try and post it as a link. Nobody's going to watch this. It's too late. The game's kicking off in 2 minutes by the time I get this posted. The only thing I would say is there's about 5 minutes of build up. I think according to Rangers Review, what game's the channel on that stupid Irish channel tonight? I think the coverage starts at 5 to 7. The game kicks off at 7 o'clock, so be sure to get on that. But at Premier Sports, you can at least watch this just to wait some sort of build up, get in the mood for it. But it will probably be 6:30 before it's up on the actual podcast. But I'm going to try and post a link to footage. There's YouTube again. There's various clips of various lengths, but Saint Etienne, 75, 76, Saint Etienne. The Rangers playing at Hampden in Europe nearly happened, or could have happened a few times before, obviously. One of them, the closest we got, was also the furthest away, the 1960 European Cup semi-final. Hampden was staging the final of the European Cup in 1960, and we played Eintracht Frankfurt in the semi-final, and they inflicted the worst ever defeat any club suffered in a European semi-final. So we conceded 6 goals in each leg of that one. We were never really getting to Hampden, but that's technically the closest we came. In 75-76, the final was at Hampden. Bayern Munich ends up beating Saint Etienne in the final. Saint Etienne so frustrated by the amount of times they hit the square goalposts of Hampden, and the ball come back off. They've been round posts. The ball would have been in. They only lost 1-0 on the night to Bayern. So frustrated, became a legend that they bought the goalposts when Hampden get rid of the square goalposts. Saint Etienne bought them and had them at the Stade Geoffroy Guichard in the Saint Etienne Museum. The most beautiful green strip you've ever seen in your life, because they wore it with the red, white and blue collars and cuffs of the Ligue 1 champions. It's a beautiful satiny Le Coq Sportif kit. My favourite ever kit to have appeared in the final of the European Cup of the Champions League is green. A Rangers supporter here, it's Allele Vert, this green kit, and the guys that were wearing it were just so bloody sexy as well. Big guys, like Dominic Rocheteau with the hair and what. Ravelli, all these kind of guys. Fantastic team, fantastically glamorous team, that Saint Etienne side. And they beat Rangers in the second. My uncle was at the away leg. We lost 2-0 in Saint Etienne, and they beat us 2-1 at Ibrox. Fantastic team. But Rangers could have got to the final. I think it's just, but in the quarter-final, after they beat us, Saint Etienne played Dynamo Kiev. And just as the following season, Liverpool's first European Cup final would feature an amazingly memorable, that the turning point was their quarter-final against Saint Etienne, where they had a comeback at Anfield in the second leg. The season before that, Saint Etienne's great moment and their greatest ever European run, the only time they reached a European final, was the quarter-final against Dynamo Kiev. And this was, again, Dynamo Kiev had won the Cup Winners' Cup in 1975, and here they were the following season, the 75-76, this is into 76, the following year, in the quarter-final. And they won the first leg 2-0 in Kiev, and they go to the Stade Geoffroy Guichard, and it's about an hour into the game. You have to see this. You have to see this. It's the first goal of the game, and it's a counter attack. Saint Etienne are pounding the Kiev goal, and then Oleg blocking, the reigning Ballon d'Or, gets the ball. He dispossesses one guy. He beats another guy. He beats another guy. He's just about rounded the keeper. He tucks this in. It's 3-0 in aggregate. We've got 20 odd minutes to play. It's over. For Saint Etienne, and there's a last-ditch tackle that dispossesses blocking, and Saint Etienne move it back up the park, and it ends up tucking into the bottom corner. You can feel the place going absolutely crazy, and then they bang in another couple, and that's it. Saint Etienne go through. They win 3-2 in aggregate. It's an absolute sensational, one of the most glamorous, sensational moments in European football history. I'm going to put a link to that up below this, because you might well get something decent out of this, a rambling effort. This is what we're talking about. And so there you have that. Saint Etienne get to Hampden. Now we're bringing Dynamo Kiev to It's just something absolute. And I want to keep it amazing. I want Rangers to go out there and do the business tonight. We've got a really weird relationship with Poland. So we played Gornik that time, that same season we played Dynamo Kiev in the European Cup. We put them out. A fantastic result for us on the night. The biggest cheer for a pass back you've ever heard in your life. Terry Butcher, you could pass it back to the goalie in the days. Terry Butcher to Chris Woods for the halfway line. We're 2-0 up on the night, 2-1 in aggregate. There's about 2 minutes to go, and I remember it because I was just in the West enclosure, and everybody just going, cheer, yeah, it's a pass back to the keeper. Just keep the ball. Anti-football, please, before we even knew what anti-football was. It was phenomenal. It was cynical. It was classy. This is what proper European teams did, and we had Graham Souness, and we were going to go and win the European Cup. It was that night we got there by dint of beating Gornik, and that was fair dues. Gornik, who got Davy White the sack, 69-70, brought Willie Waddle in when they beat Rangers home and away in the Cup Winners' Cup in 69-70. But I was too young just to be at that one, so I've still never seen Gornik. But we've got this thing where, look, we played Andy Makachkala. I remember that another Russian team from one of the kind of autonomous regions. What was that? That was Alec. No, it was Dick Advocat. Dick Advocat's last season in charge. In fact, up the last half season that he was in charge, we got Andy Makachkala, and it was there was so much. They weren't happy to be Russian. A lot of unhappiness in that region. Not quite Chechnya, but getting there. And it was not. We can't go. Rangers can't go there. It's unsafe. Well, we're not going to go to Ibrox. So they had they just played one game, and it was in Warsaw. Played in Warsaw, and Big Bert Konterman, as he was wanting to do, scoring a free kick, only goal of the game. So we beat them 1-0. Then we beat Amica Ronchi. Remember we played Amica Ronchi? And that was in the UEFA Cup. This is going to be the scenario with all the European competitions this season. The group stage, you played 4 teams away from home, and you play 4 teams at home, and it's different teams. You're playing 8 different teams in Europe in the group stage. If we get pumped home and away in this game against Kiev, we'll go straight into the Europa League group stage. It's set up the same way. We're playing 8 group games, but you only play 4. They kind of trialled that, and I didn't like it at all. They trialled that in the group stages of the UEFA Cup before the UEFA Cup became the Europa League, and they had a couple of seasons of this thing where there was 5 teams in the group, and you played 2. You would play 2 away from home, and you played 2 at home. And Amica Ronchi was one of the ones we played away from home. We beat them 5-0 in Poland. And Amica Ronchi, they went bust. You know what I mean? Imagine that happening. That's terrible. They went bust. They no longer exist. But we beat them 5-0. But I didn't get to see them at Ibrox. There was the Katowice. Remember we played Katowice? That was late 80s as well. That was the UEFA Cup, the season after the Dynamo Kiev tie. And it was the whole thing. We gubbed them away from home, but we only beat them 1-0 at Ibrox. That was John Brown, the guy. They were all diving and what have you all the time. And the guy was acting acting it on the park. The club doctor was on, and John Brown I was in Easton closing that night, and John Brown picks up his wee medical bag and he puts it off the side of the park, and the guy makes, oh, he's dropped all my stuff over the park. We'll have to delay play even more. It was kind of nonsense. That was a really weird game as well. And here we are back in Poland again, not playing a Polish team. Again, it's a really strange relationship we have with Poland and Europe. We never got to the final in Gdansk, the Conference League finals in Wrocław this season. It's a really weird relationship we've got. We're playing Dynamo Kiev, and Poland is it Motor Lublin is the club. Motor Lublin, it's the Lublin Arena, and they did quite well there, didn't they, in the previous round, Dynamo Kiev. They won 3-0 at that stadium in the second leg against Partizan Belgrade, but they'd already won. No, they won their 6-2. They won their leg in Belgrade 3-0. The first leg was in Lublin, and they won 6-2. This day, 6th of August 2019, 5 years ago to the day, his very first, I'm sure he had a couple of caretaker spells in charge of Club Bruges, Philippe Clement. But his first game as permanent manager, first European game as permanent manager of Club Bruges was against Dynamo Kiev. And it was at Jan Bredow, it was at the home stadium, Club Bruges' home stadium. And they played Kiev in the away leg in their home stadium, Olympic Stadium in Kiev. But he won 1-0. He won 1-0 5 years ago today, his first European match in permanent charge of Club Bruges. Philippe Clement, so that's quite a thing. Drew 3 each over in Kiev in the second leg, and through he went, and it was this round of this competition. It was the third qualifying round of the Champions League, and he got through. Philippe Clement, this is his third goal at getting into the Champions League group stages via this route. Clement's had a team in the Champions League group stages 3 times. Now the group stages have changed, they will change this season we don't want to get too much into that. We'll be lucky to get through this time, never mind the playoff against 20, we all think it's going to be 20 if we're going to get MD because of Proper and Lammers or Salzburg, and they're both European finalists that I haven't seen. But when he beat Kiev in this round, in Dynamo Kiev this round in 2019, the next game, the playoff round, was against Lask of Austria, against Linz. Where Hitler went to school, and Wittgenstein, give and take. But so there's wee coincidences there that maybe if you're into positive omens. But Clement has been in the actual Champions League group stage 3 times, all with Bruges. 2 of those times it's because he was champ. He'd won the Belgian league and went straight in. So he's only been in qualifying twice, and that was the first time where he beat Dynamo Kiev and he beat Lask, and they got through 2 qualifying rounds. The second goal he had at it was with Monaco, when he took over the Monaco gig kind of halfway through a season, and they got put out. They get put out in this round by PSV Eindhoven, who we then beat under Gio in the playoff round. So he's had one success and 1 failure at getting through from this round to the Champions League group stages. Has our manager? I don't think he's ever been past the last 16 of Europe. Usually in the Europa League, so that was the furthest he'd been in Europe with a club last season when he took us very, very close against Benfica. But hopefully he's got good experience in Europe. He's taken a few pacings, but it's against Man City, against PSG, against big teams that you're supposed to take pacings off when he was manager of Bruges. So he's got plenty of experience. He's got a good European pedigree, has Philippe. This is his 7th game. It won't be his 7th European game in charge of Rangers. The previous 6, he's only lost 1, and that was an incredibly tight. I thought it was a pretty epic game against Benfica. We drew 2 each over in Lisbon, and then we lost 1-0. What was that? March only. It feels like just a couple of weeks ago, and that's what it feels like with Rangers. Ever since Steven Gerrard arrived at the club, it's just been constant European football. It's been with terrible times. It was like when we lost to Progress Niederkorn, we went out of Europe to Progress Niederkorn of Luxembourg and Pedro Caixinha's short-lived reign. That was an all-time low. I felt as if it was bookended by the Liverpool. We'd got to a European final. We'd consistently in group stages of European football. We'd finally got into the Champions League, and we took the worst defeat I've ever seen Rangers taken. That 7-1 defeat to Liverpool at home. I thought that's the bookending. That's the end of the European club. But no, we come back, and another great run last season. Very, very respectable. But even in that run we had last season, where we inflict even Clement's 6 games in charge is 2 really gritty performances against Sparta when he first arrives, a draw in Sparta in Prague in the first game, and he gets the win against Sparta Prague at home 2-1, a really tight game, a real grind. Draws at home with Aris Limassol, semi-disaster, looks terrible. Then goes and gets our first ever win against Spanish opposition in Spain in nearly 70 years of European competition. Absolutely unbelievable. One of the greatest results of my life. So even when we're doing well, this is a season which we'd get gubbed 5-1 off PSV Eindhoven, humiliated by them. It's up and down, but we just hang in there and we keep doing well. And I like it. It's the big boys' playground. I like us playing in Europe. I like us doing well in Europe, and I'm really up for it. I'm really up for this game tonight, although we seem to be up against it. Dynamo Kiev are in the Champions path the same as ourselves. So in the league path the same as ourselves because they finished second. They only lost the Ukrainian league last season by a couple of points to Shakhtar Donetsk, who won the double, the same as our great rivals. Celtic won the double here last season. So they've been there or thereabouts. They've been playing. I think they did badly. They went out in the playoff stage of the Europa League last season, but Dynamo Kiev have been steady. They've been steady in Europa League group stages, Champions League group stages, just right back to. They're the last, I've seen it written down somewhere, and I think it must be true, they're the last team outside the kind of top 7 leagues, the top 5 leagues plus the Belgian, plus the Dutch and Portuguese league. They're the last club from outside that to get to the semi-finals of the Champions League. And 3 times have been the semi-final of the Champions League. And a few weeks ago when the draw was announced, I did a wee pod, and it's something I put to you as well if you're still listening. Our Dynamo Kiev, it's probably us and Dynamo Kiev, after Atletico Madrid, the team that needs to win the European Cup most, maybe deserves it, that wants it more than the 23 clubs who have already won the European Cup. I think our need's definitely greater than Manchester City's. Ours is because Celtic have won the thing, because we get constant access to it. Our great rivals have won it. But Dynamo Kiev were just, I think that the Soviet season in their great days, we had all these great players under Valery Lobanovsky and this amazing robotic system of football that he built up. You watch that game, it's on YouTube, where they beat Athletic Madrid 3-0 in the final of the '86 Cup Winners' Cup. The goals are, it's like psychic. They're not even looking at each other. It was amazing football from just out of this world, off the scale. That's why it was amazing that Rangers beat them just like 16 months later, and I'm hoping it's going to be the same thing tonight. But Dynamo Kiev, the Soviet season would be a summer season because the winter's over there a lot of the time. So they were off. They would get to the semi-finals, and then just a lack of match fitness would get to them. The fact that they were playing at a different time of year to the rest of the Western European teams would eventually catch up with them. 3 times I think they've lost in the semi-finals of the European Cup or the Champions League, but twice they've won the Cup Winners' Cup. As I say, only Eastern European side to win 2 European trophies, and just some of the football they've played is phenomenal. They've got their manager. They've got an oligarch owner. That's fine. Their manager Alexander Shovkovsky. He's a former goalkeeping legend. You're always a legend, a former goalkeeper and a legend. Like 90 odd caps for Ukraine and hundreds of appearances for Dynamo Kiev. He was a goalkeeper that time. I saw us beating them 3-1 back in 2007 at Hamden, Ukraine. That is. He's assistant manager, Ukraine. They beat Scotland in that World Cup playoff semi-final at Hamden 3-1. I think he'd be assistant manager that night. He's been caretaker and assistant manager of Dynamo Kiev since he retired from the goalkeeping, and now he's manager. He's doing the business. And Andriy Yarmolenko, he scored for Ukraine that night at Hamden as well. It just feels like Dynamo Kiev as the team that everybody most readily associates with Ukraine should play at Hamden. It's a bit of an honour that us making a complete arse of rebuilding the Copland Road has managed to get Dynamo Kiev to play at Hamden. I was at the time I was at European Cup final, I had the Champions League final 2002, Real Madrid against Bayer Leverkusen. It was a couple of weeks after Valery Lobanovsky had died, and I remember up on the big screens a tribute to Lobanovsky before the game. Yarmolenko, I think he's wearing number 7. He's the most famous player in this Dynamo Kiev team. It's a team just because of the war, probably. There's only about 4 non-Ukrainians in the entire squad. But Yarmolenko, 122 caps for Ukraine, 46 goals. He's 34 years old, played for West Ham, played for Borussia Dortmund. You know the name, you know the player. So he's going to be... He was at Euro 2024. There were 6 Dynamo Kiev players in the Ukrainian squad at the Euros this summer, and I think they're well. So you don't need to know. I don't know the names of them all. I'm not really very familiar with them, but we all know that they beat Partizan Belgrade in the previous round. They beat Partizan Belgrade. Serbia is like 3 places above Ukraine in the coefficient, but it was 6-2 in Poland in the first leg, and 6 different goal scorers, and Dynamo Kiev won each half by 3-1. 3 goals to 1, and then they went over to Belgrade for the second leg, and they won 3-0 over there as well. So there's a great fear that they're going to do the same to Rangers at a time that we don't seem to have any kind of cohesion or any kind of notable shape to his tactics. We feel as if this is maybe the team of Lobanovsky, one of the most famous one. You've got Ajax probably, and then Barcelona have got in the back of that through basically buying a whole lot of Ajax players and managers throughout their history. But in terms of a team as famous for their system as anything else, Dynamo Kiev are really up there. And so I think we've got a bit of a fear that we're playing, the subliminal fear that we're playing the Dynamo Kiev team of the 1970s and the 1980s under Lobanovsky. I don't know. I don't know if it's that straightforward. The manager at his press conference yesterday was talking about Hadji is gone. He's done. He's that's it. His Rangers career is over. He was playing against Middlesbrough yesterday for the B team, that B team game at Auchenhowie. But the thought, there was a lot of patter online saying, "Oh, that's terrible. He's making Hadji play for the B team." But it wouldn't he be if he's actually trying to get him fit? He's trying to humiliate. No, he's trying to keep up the guy's fitness so he can get sold. And Fiorentina is supposed to be in for Hadji, a bit of haggling going on there. He's not going to be playing. Cortez, the bad news, Oscar Cortez picks up that injury at Tynecastle. That's him out for 4 to 5 weeks. Surprised it wasn't 45 weeks, but it's 4 to 5 weeks. He's out for. Ross McCausland, I don't know what's going to happen with him. Was he getting saved? I wasn't even in the squad on Saturday. Is he out the game altogether because we have a slot open on the left-hand side? We've got Cherny. Václav Cherny's come in. It'd be just like the thing that all those years of us wanting a right winger, wanting somebody, an out-and-out right, a wide right player. And we bring in Cherny, who is left-footed, but loves playing on the right-hand side because of that. The manager just gone, you had that half hour at Tynecastle actually playing as an out-and-out right. Can we just move you over to use that left foot on the left side tonight? Maybe that's it. I think it's going to be Rabbi Matondo who's going to get the shout tonight. The talk of Hefty getting pushed up. He can apparently play wide left as well. Sima doesn't seem like we can afford him anyway, so that's done and dusted. It looks like, I would say Rabbi Matondo tonight. I'm hoping there's going to be a variation in the system. I was pushing it for the Scottish Cup final, it didn't happen. There was one game last season for Philippe Clement, I think it was maybe one game, perhaps 2, 1.5, where he put Diomande in a kind of 10 role. He took away the 10, and Tom Lawrence we all feels too fragile to be playing 10 tonight. But we're going to be too fragile to be risking a 10 tonight, I think. Maybe Diomande playing in the more advanced role, if not actually 10 in midfield, if we can get the mythical Dujon Sterling back. I would have him sitting alongside young Connor Barron to give us a bit of dig in there, maybe varying it a bit, surely holding back a bit. It will be Dessers himself up front, no doubt. I'm hoping we get to play Cherny from the start. The manager was talking about Brexit yesterday, as if we've not got enough problems just now with all that Russian interference that started the Brexit stuff, started all the division, started bringing down all these Western democracies, and is leading to these riots down south. There's the Rangers manager pitching in like a big woke lefty, blaming Brexit for the fact that Popper and Cherny might not be, I think I'm calling him Chesney, aren't I? Chesney Hawks. Popper and Cherny might not actually be fit or ready or mentally ready because there's been so much paperwork because of Brexit. We can't just, they're stuck in that big queue when we signed them down at Dover. We can't quite get them up the road and get them settled into their houses and get them ready to play football. I don't know if that was just a bit of a bit of sleight of hand, a bit of mind games for the opposition manager. Maybe these guys are going to be certain to start the night, but I'm a bit worried about what's going to happen at centre half. I would like Balogun and Proper. I think it could well be Balogun and Suter to start with, but Tav, we're maybe a bit worried about Tav. He's going to need the protection on the right hand side, so you can imagine. Anyway, I'm not going to imagine what's happening there. I just hope Tav has suddenly got more of his fitness back. He's getting a hell of a slagging just now, but I think a lot of it just now is just he just doesn't have match fitness. As simple as that. Hopefully get a bit more into his system with no real damage done. On Saturday we didn't concede any goals, so Tav's defending is absolutely fine. When have we ever had a Rangers defender that we didn't want to, a Rangers fullback. I mean, I can go back to, I wasn't even there, but I can go back to the days of Eric Caldo. If you're a Rangers fullback and you don't attack, you don't go over the halfway line, then you're not a Rangers fullback. Defending it isn't the first thing for our fullbacks, but anyway, it was a clean sheet on Saturday, if nothing else. So Tav, hopefully, a man with massive European experience, a European legend for Rangers. Hopefully he'll be starting tonight, and I just hope we do the business. I hope we do the business. I hope we at least get a draw, bring this back to Hampden really tight. We're going to need to turn up. I don't know what to think about 20 or Salzburg in the next round. We get 5 million just for getting into the playoff round. This is the figures that are going about. But the main thing is we just need a boost. We need something. We need... The manager has been talking about how it's no disgrace to go into the Europa League, and you're like, oh, wait a minute. And it isn't. But he did use the same pattern last year after we drawn with Limassol, and it looked like we're going to have to beat Real Betis in Seville to finish top of the group and progress in the Europa League last season. That wasn't going to happen, so he started talking up the Conference League. But we got the result, and so it's what he does. He talks up the safety net, so maybe it takes the pressure off the players. But I'm really hoping that the fears don't come to pass tonight. We have got a team that we had to sell a lot of players before we get in the players we needed. It hasn't happened as quickly as we'd like, and I think our need to find out if we can get into the Champions League, it's a catch-22. It's going to tell us how much money. The manager was talking about this in the presser yesterday. You've got 2 different transfer budgets. One where you do get into the Champions League, one where you don't, but you're finding out about that in the middle of the Champions League qualification. So you don't know if you're going to be able to afford players until the players that you have been able to afford can get you into a round that you can afford the players that you need. Apart from anything else, this is still a work in progress for the manager. We're back to preliminary drawings. I know I was talking about that under Michael Beale, but I think you can see what the manager's trying to do. He talks about automatisms all the time and how Dynamo Kiev's team really know each other quite well. With a settled team, they've got plenty of those automatisms. We don't have that just now. So it will look really bad at times. When we're not playing well, it's going to look bad. But we're not playing well, and we're still going to Tynecastle and getting a draw. And we'll see what we can do tonight. I think with more players coming in, I think there's players that we'll be saving for tonight as well. We are up against it, but it's Europe, and we love it. We absolutely love it, and I'm so proud of Rangers. I think everything we've done in Europe, it puts us on a level with Celtic. Celtic got no domestic dominance. We are working miracles in Europe. We have been doing since 2018, and I think it's as valid an achievement. I know we as a support just now need to see a few more league titles. We need to see a lot more domestic success, and I absolutely get that. We need to be beating Celtic. We haven't beaten them in a meaningful game for 2 years, so that's a local issue. It leads towards European access. But it's very much a local issue, and I love Rangers being bigger than that, and it's been a real joy for me, us being the only 2 European finals and basically the only team getting past Christmas in Europe for Scotland the last 20 years. It's been an absolute joy, and I just want us to see us continue doing that, and it's going to require a big result tonight. And if you're worried, that's fine, but I would say 2 things to you in closing. Dynamo Kiev, one of their pre-season friendlies just a few weeks ago, they lost to Union Berlin at home. We drew away to Union Berlin. I'm not going to say that. And also, Ukraine took a 3-0 pasting off Romania during the Euros there. A Romania inspired by Yanis Hadji, and he can barely get a game for the Rangers B team. See you tonight, troops.